Hello, everybody. Hello. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to the presentation about the magic that's in the air all around us, air magic. My name is Astrea Taylor, and I'm the author of Air Magic and Intuitive Witchcraft as well. And today, I just want to share with you some of the most useful pieces of information that I've discovered about air magic. And I hope that this will help inspire your magical practice or your meditation or your spirituality or however you connect with the world that's all around us and the spirituality. So I just want to start out by saying that everyone can use air magic. Whether you feel like, you're connected with air, whether you're an air sign or an earth sign or a fire sign, we all have the ability to use air magic. And it's as close to us as one breath away. So I invite you to take a deep breath with me and release. And let's jump in. So first of all, when we say elements, we don't mean like an element of the periodic table. Sure, there are elements that are composed of air and vapor and whatnot. But when we say element, we mean the classical elements. And mostly it's a range of energies. So, if you can think of earth and how heavy that is and how grounded and stable it is, it's like in our body. That's a very heavy energetic range. There's a lot of things that correspond with that. If you move up a little bit, there's water, and you have these flowy mechanisms with water. It just feels more like emotions and that kind of stuff in our bodies, and it's our blood. And then we have the elements of fire getting a little bit lighter still. And we feel that in our willpower, in our creativity, in our passions. And that's a really wonderful, fiery feeling. It's like the ability to go out and do things. And then we have the elemental range of the elements of air. And this is the lightest one of all. And it's just this very effervescent kind of feeling that connects with the mind, the breath, the upper chakras, the colors purple, blue, silver, whites, and sometimes gold and yellow. And it's this really beautiful energy. So we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to go into some of the best qualities of the element of air and the associations. And we're going to do this with an exercise. So you're really going to feel each one of these. So you can close your eyes if you wish. And I just want you to take a deep breath in and breathe in and release. And now we're going to breathe in elevation and release. And breathe in expansion, the feeling of expansion, the higher energies. And release. Next, we're going to breathe in objectivity. And connections, mental connections and psychic connections. Breathe that in. And as you exhale, the next inhalation will be the power of logic. And release. And now breathe in inspiration and innovation, that energy. You're really starting to see, to feel maybe even what the element of air is all about. So we're going to breathe in a few more times. Let's all breathe in insights, those creative bursts we get in our brain, those aha moments. And exhale. Let's breathe in new beginnings. A whole new beginning, and exhale. Now let's inhale communication, the ability to communicate clearly. And how about the ability to change and adapt to our circumstances? Air is all about change. the power of pivoting. And one more, transportation. We can be transported into a different mindsets. And exhale. And last but not least, spirituality. And exhale. So if you're anything like me when I did this exercise, you're now connected with these higher energies and the element of air. And you might feel bigger and like brighter and taller and more open up here, especially. And that's a wonderful exercise you can do anytime. You can just think of some of those qualities or whichever one you need and just breathe them in and take them into your mind, because our minds create a lot of our reality, and air magic has a lot to do with mentalities. So while we're here and talking about breath, let's get into breath a little bit more. So all of us are breathing all the time, every single day. Like even if you hold your breath, there's still a transpiration happening in your lungs. And it's really interesting because your body's actually exchanging gases through the capillaries, and you're breathing out the exhalation of all these microbes that are within you. And when you breathe in, you feed them. It's a wonderful process. So what's really interesting about breath is that we can have this frequency with the breath. We breathe in and we exhale. And a frequency is a wave, of course, and it's also an energy. So we can think about our breaths in as far as like what energy we want to be at. So you can kind of imagine the breath spectrum from breathing very fast, rapidly, to breathing very slow and deep. There's a whole mind state that happens along those breaths. So at our deepest breathings, we're asleep. We're in like the theta mind states, and we're dreaming. At our most rapid breathing, we're more alert, we're more awake, more focused on the things around us. So what you can do right now is just choose the frequency of breath that suits you the best for this time right now. You can do this whenever, but I like to key into the moment whenever I do this and really feel what would help me in this moment right now. So if you need more energy, breathe a little bit more rapidly. If you want to calm down, breathe a little bit slower. And that is really helping us get into the right mind state that we want to be in, that the most helpful one as well. So if anyone is feeling a little bit too ungrounded at this time, I invite you to connect with the earth. I invite you to touch your body. I invite you to just maybe give yourself a little massage or a little pat on the back or the shoulder. But if you want to stay in this upper mind state, you're certainly welcome to. And we're going to keep talking about a few of the associations of air and how we can use them. So air is so useful in all of our spiritual practices, and the mind and the spirit are really connected. There have been times throughout history that really show that the mental freedom and the spiritual freedoms that we have, they're kind of coexisting. There's a lot of limitations on both at the same time, or freedoms on both at the same time. And so whatever we are thinking, we're spiritually attracting as well to the energies around us, whether you perceive them as energies, spirits, deities, angels, what have you. Our mind state, in a lot of ways, creates like this reverb. So that's one of the reasons why we have to be really careful about what we're putting out there. Not just what we're saying out loud, but what we're thinking as well. And one of the best things about air magic is that you can look at the pathways that are in your brain that are trained, like if you're used to going like that, and that's not really working out for you, you can use the breath and some of those energies that we talked about earlier. Instead of going like this, you can kind of go over here instead, if that makes sense. That's a very general view of a neural pathway. But it gives us the power to change our minds, to grow, to elevate, and to go beyond what we thought we were capable of before. And a lot of this kind of growth comes with spiritual lessons. And so those are connected once again. Another connection of air is the upper world. And some of you may be feeling as if you're in this elevated mindset. And, the upper world, there's a lot of different mythical places associated with that, such as Mount Olympus. People used to put temples up on hills, pagans and Christians and all kinds of people, because they believed it was like this liminal place that was closer to the heavenly areas. So it's a really cool thing to think about. Another realm that's associated with air is the fairy realm. And it's kind of separated from ours by a veil. The veil is in the air and separating our realms. And the way that I think about it is that, it's hard for us to conceive of a fourth dimension because we're 3 dimensions. And I don't know if it is a 4th dimension or 3.5 or whatever it is, but it's hidden from us, just like, as if we were on 2 dimensions and we couldn't conceive of a 3rd dimension. But it is in the air around us, just hidden in the air. And the word fairy actually, it translates as beings of congealed air, which is one of those interesting things that really makes sense. So, all these realms are kind of like just out there in the air, and they've been known from many different cultures for a very long time. So one of the biggest inspirations and insights that came to me when I was writing this book, Air Magic, was that when we look at all these energies, there is a realm of air, like a magical realm of air and a kind of a mundane realm of air that's available to us. And so if you could conceive of a realm of air, it's like from the ground all the way up into the sky, basically to the ozone layer, there's this realm of air. It's like an ocean of air that we're always swimming in. And, this is where the airplanes fly and, birds fly, and we have the Wi-Fi messages going through. There's like mundane communications there happening. Words, sounds travel through it, smells as well. These are all associations with air. But there's a magical realm of air that we can access that overlaps with that. So when we're in the magical realm of air, when we command that, it's more of an activated state of air. It's that we're connected with it and that we know, what we're doing, and, we can actively engage with the intelligence of this. And so you can imagine that the magical realm of air looks like a web that connects everything to everything else. And it can form these like beautiful kaleidoscopic kind of patterns. And it kind of looks like some stained glass or some archways, and that's why I think those things look so holy to us, is because they remind us of the magical element of air. It can also look like a weaving with threads or yarn strands coming off of it and connecting to other things. If you relate more to that than a web, you can think of it that way. You can also think of it as Wi-Fi, like we have our own spiritual kind of Wi-Fi, but we are the transmitters. We program the information and we can send it out. And we're always doing this, whether we're aware of it or not. So it's really important to think about this kind of stuff and to really get a handle on where these messages are going and what these messages are. Because in some ways, it's kind of like when you have a thought and you're not, closed off, then that thought could be transmitted out there into the world. And, people or spirits or, angels or deities could react to that and could aid in that or say, no, I don't want to support that. Maybe that's not for the best. So really, when we have integrity, it's really a wonderful thing to work with this magical realm of air. And it's so wonderful. And so we can pick up all kinds of messages, like the psychic messages, the mental messages. If you have a friend who's really well connected with you on a psychic wavelength, they may be able to pick up some of these messages because the information is just traveling in the air to them. And if you have a cord with them, like your tie with them, is very strong, then it'll be received more and they're open to it. It'll be received better. And so these cords that travel through the air, these are the ones that we either maintain or maybe we want to cut the cord or we want to strengthen it. We always talk about cutting the cords, but nobody ever says, like, what are these cords? So that's one really beautiful thing that's come out of air magic is this knowing and this vast realization of the magical realm of air. So there are some wonderful ways that you can connect with the magical realm of air. One of the easiest ways to do it is just to meditate in that realm. You can call it up with your breathing, like the exercises, using the exercises we had before, and then really feel its energy, like breathe in the magical element of air. If you want to try that right now, just breathe in this sense of connection and spirit and breathe it in again and just let that energy lift you up higher and higher and let it elevate you. Let it connect you if you wish to be connected. You can also envision it connecting with your upper chakras and like either activating them or cleansing them, letting them spin more freely. It's a wonderful way to really call that up and use it to empower yourself. So one of my favorite ways of using the magical realm of air is to put my intentions or my affirmations out there into it. So, I would come up with an affirmation or an intention, like maybe like I'm becoming more wise every day. That's a beautiful one. And, you really feel it come from your body and up and up and out. And then you just like connect with the magical realm of air. You can use your hands to kind of like transmit it. You can envision that you touch a thread or a strand of the web. You could also use a magic wand to conjure up the energy and then transmit it out that way. And if you raise energy with it, such as like with a magical ritual, spell, any kind of that, you can really like increase the volume of it and increase the power and increase the spread of it. It'll really kind of shoot it out a lot farther or further, whichever, probably both. So you can also work with the element, the energy in the air, and these balls of energy that we form with our hands. If you've ever done this, and you push your hands together, you start to compress the air. So air magic, chi is related to air magic. And it's not something I go into a lot, but it's inspirational if you want to look at it as a side project. But, you can form these balls of energy and they're really useful because you can feel the energy between your fingers and as it grows and whatnot. It's really wonderful. Another wonderful way to get in touch with the magical energy of air is to play with storm magic. And obviously not outside in a thunderstorm, but if you feel the energy building up in the air, that's pure energy. It's winds combining with electricity and humidity and some particles as well. And I believe we can sense that stuff. You can let it build up, and when you can start to like create a crescendo of your own intentions or your magic. And then when it starts to rain, that's when you release it and have a celebration in the rain. So that's another powerful way. You can use crystals. Those are a wonderful way as well. And so most air magic crystals or crystals that are associated with the element of air, they're usually lighter in color, sometimes lighter in weights. But like, for example, quartz crystal or apopholites. This has a really high energy. Another great one is moldavite, this green crystal. It actually comes from outer space, and it landed here on Earth and crystallized. It's been a very popular crystal lately. Other ones include sodalite, amethyst, and those are some of my favorite ones. So another great way to get in touch with the element of air is through herbs. And I love herbs. I grow a few herbs. I love making tea. And one of my favorite is mints. It's just so uplifting. It's so magical. Lavender is another one. And what's really funny about lavender is that a lot of people who write books about elements, they're like, lavender is water. Oh, lavender is fire. Oh, lavender is earth. And I believe lavender is air, but it can also be those other ones. So when we have some herb or a crystal like that has multiple different energies, what we really should think about is that it has the mental energy of bringing in those other qualities. So if lavender is for peace, it can bring in, if you're working with the emotion, the water part of it, it can bring in the emotion of peace. If you're working with the air magic part of it, it brings in the mentality of peace. So I hope that makes sense. It's just a great way of looking at when things overlap. Air magic is all about the communication and the mindsets. So another wonderful way is to burn incense. Now, all incense relates to air magic, but some is more than others. And what's really wonderful about incense is that whenever you burn it, you're invoking this ancestral memory, because the smell enters your nose and it enters the brain, the part of your brain that it doesn't like go into the thinking part. It goes into like the ancestral memory part. It's more of like the basic part of our brain. And so that's really beautiful, because our DNA can store things there. And there have been studies to say that people who have ancestry and ancestral line will actually have the same associations as their ancestors did. So if you can think of what your ancestors may have burned, possibly like 10,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, wherever they may have been, then you can get closer to that mind states and that more primal animistic mentality as well, which is really magical. It's a very spiritual state. It's not one that's associated with like higher thinking necessarily, but more about spirit connection. And it's really powerful. Rosemary is a great herb for remembrance as well. So another way you can get in touch with the magical realm of air is to go outside on a windy day, or go up high on a hilltop or in a prairie tower and really feel the air up there. It's a lot more active. The higher you go, you can like really feel the wind, and let the wind kind of like play with your hair, let it cleanse you. And then you can also kind of listen to the wind and see if it has any messages for you. You can really get in touch with, the energies that are there. You could work with the air zodiac signs. So Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Those are powerful air signs. And I would advise when the moon or the sun or Mercury is in any of these, it's a great time for air magic, any kind of air associations or air correspondence spells and whatnot. And then music is another wonderful way. So if you've ever played a song when you were in a bad mood and you just play a song, and then after listening to it, you're in a different mind state, that's you using air magic for a power in your life. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to shift our mindset, shift our whole perspective in our lives. So another way is to use bells or chimes. So you can associate a certain sound or notes of your bell with a mind state you want to encourage. So I have a spell in my book about how to create a bell sigil spell. And basically it's creating an intention with a bell. And when you ring it, it really brings about that mind state. And you do it through repetition. This brings in some Pavlovian things as well, but it really works. It's wonderful. And I love that so much. So it looks like we have a little bit of time for questions. If anybody wants to pop some questions into the bar down there, I would love to answer questions. I will tell you guys, I do have a website. It's AstreaTaylor.com. I'm on a lot of different social media platforms. On Instagram, I'm at Astrea Taylor, and I'm on Facebook as I have an author page there. And Twitter as well, I'm at Astrea Writes. So yeah, I'll look and see if there's any questions. The last few minutes here. Chani says, love to connect through storms. And yes, Natalie, yes, I am an air sign. I'm a Libra, but I have my moon in Aquarius, and I have something in Gemini as well, Jupiter. My favorite material for air wands, I like finding sticks that fall in my yard. I have a tulip tree, and so I have one of those wands. So the book has a lot of different wood meanings and also goes into the meanings of the herbs and the crystals and all the correspondences. Elohim, hello. Thank you. Yes, a fairy realm in Olympus. Yeah, I'm really glad to share those parts of that with you. It's so wonderful to talk about this. Like, my passion is air and communication. And I was so thrilled to write this book. I just feel like I have so much to share. And I like to look at things from like a perspective of a scientist, because I do have science background. And so there are some things, some little scientific facts, as well as all the other correspondences, some spells and rituals and whatnot. Are folding fans a good symbol for air? Well, I would have to say so. You know, they create our own air for us. Love the birch backdrop. Thank you so much. And hello to all my other air signs out there. Yeah, so what if you don't feel the power of air? That's a great question, Beth. Thank you. I feel like a lot of us have gotten used to grounding over the years, being in our bodies, right? And I don't think that we're as used to elevating and expanding. And I think it takes a while to really get into that practice of elevating and expanding. So I would recommend, you use some of these correspondences. Maybe you use like a little spray to help you get into the right mindset, and you breathe in the powerful parts of the elements of air. And you really like open up your upper chakras and just really feel this elemental like lightness and elevation and whatnot. So, I think that I had the opposite problem. I was always confused about grounding because I'm an air sign. but I think we all have the power to learn what the elements can teach us. So this is part of a series of books through Llewellyn. There's also Water Magic by Lilith Dorsey, which is out right now, and it's wonderful. I absolutely love that book. I love Lilith. I highly recommend it. And Fire Magic and Earth Magic are coming out later this year, and I'm so excited for you to read those as well, because the team that we have together is just so wonderful, and we just share our knowledge and our use of these. You know, it's such a joy. Yes, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, everybody. Yeah, so if you live near the coast, you definitely have a spot where there's a lot of wind energetics exchange between the ocean and the land. So wonderful. Well, thank you guys so much. That is my time. I really loved being on here and seeing your comments and speaking with you today. Like I said, I'm on AstreaTaylor.com. I have signed books and a lot of other materials. And I'd love to connect with you other places in the world, maybe through the realm of air and the magic of social media. Thank you, guys.